Take two. So apparently the first video that was uploaded did not upload well for some reason, so we are just going to start again. I don't have the test sitting in front of me. I have it on my iPad, so I'm just going to read through the test, which means it won't be in order of the slides, so just keep up with me. I'll go slow. All right, so you will need to know your timelines. This is the timeline you need to know. It says it right here, non-pre-AP classes. So this is the timeline you need to know. Remember our stations we did before Valentine's Day over the problems Mexico faces today and the problems they faced establishing a new government. So let's go over the problems that they faced establishing a government. So this is right after they declare independence from Spain. And remember, they had never, and so they faced a couple of problems as they were trying to create their own government. One, they had never done it before. So they had no experience governing themselves, and so they had a really hard time establishing a government and a stable one. The nation lacked an economy. They had a really weak economy, and without an economy, it's really hard to build a stable government. And those first two things are going to open them up to foreign invaders, and this is also going to prevent them from establishing a strong government. So these are the three problems that Mexico faced when establishing a government after they declare independence from Spain. So let's go look at the three problems they still face today in 2019. So the three problems they face today are pollution because of those maquiladoras, and they're becoming more industrialized. Remember, you read some of the articles about it being so hot and humid and not a lot of rain, and that just allows that pollution to build safety and crime through drug cartels and drug sales, and then creating more jobs. So their economy today is weak per se, but they're moving towards a stable economy. And so one thing that's preventing them from doing that is there's not enough jobs for the people of Mexico. And let's go back to the Columbian Exchange. Remember, this video is just a reminder of everything you've learned in class. You know all of this stuff, so be confident in what you know as I skip around. Okay, so the Columbian Exchange. Remember, this is the movement of plants and animals between Latin America and Europe after Christopher Columbus's voyage. Remember, his was in 1492. And so some of the lasting impacts are that the Western Hemisphere and the Eastern Hemisphere are connected for the first time. This allows the world to become a little bit richer. As more goods are being transferred and moved, more cash is being exchanged in hands. Remember, cash is like gold and silver in different crops. More crops are spread over large portions of the globe. Remember, we looked at this right here. So we're seeing movement of crops from the Americas to Europe, and then from Europe to the Americas. Remember, we read some of those really neat articles. One that stuck out to me was Italy didn't have tomatoes until the Columbian Exchange, and now we can't even imagine Italy cuisine, their dishes, without tomato sauce. And so that is one big impact of the Columbian Exchange. I learned from one of our shadow boxes that the rubber from those high light balls are actually a result of the Columbian Exchange, which I thought was really neat. So these are the foods that would be lasting impacts. So you can use that one. Let's go back. New diseases are introduced into the areas, and then the decline of indigenous people from those diseases comes from there. Let's quickly look at Mexico's economy and their government today. So their government today in 2019, they're a democracy. They are made up of 31 states, and they're a federal republic. They have a multi-party system. Remember, that means they have two different parties. They have the PAN party and the PRI party. Just like we have the Democrats and the Republicans, they have two parties as well that they can vote from. Three branches of government. Their president has a little bit more power than that of the United States president, and he serves, or she serves, 6-year terms. Their economy, the big one I'm going to zone in here, is that their economy is growing. We can see that they grew, we talked in class that they grew 2017 and 2018 by 2%, and they're projected to grow another 2% in 2019. And that seems like a little number, but it's showing growth. They've become more industrialized. They've used these maquiladoras to become more industrialized. Remember, those maquiladoras are finished goods factories. So the product is finished there in those factories and then shipped out. So what you need to hone in on is that although Mexico is struggling, their economy is growing, and that's a good sign. All right, let's jump back to the Mayans and our ancient civilizations real quick. I didn't put the Olmecs on there, so we're just going to focus on the Mayans and the Aztecs. So the Mayans are going to leave us with a lot of really important things. They created the 365-day calendar. Oh, typo. They gave us glyph, which is, remember, those carved symbols that are going to stand for syllables or for words. So that's really the beginning of writing for us. They used the mathematical system based on 20, and they were the first to use the number 0. So those are some of the lasting impacts. Remember, we're not going to use descendants still exist today as a lasting impact, because we're looking at things that we are experiencing and using on our lives today. This is a really neat fact, but these are the impacts that they left for us. Okay, so that's the Mayans. Remember, they're farmers, they're traders, they're advanced, impressive cities. They do abandon their cities. Let's look at the Aztecs. The question on the test is compare. You're going to give me one similarity between the Aztecs and Mayans and one difference. So the Aztecs, they're warriors. They have an empire. They gain this strong empire through tribute of the collecting of gold and silver and crops from the other small city-states around them. At their height, they had 300,000 people. Their capital city, Tenochtitlan, was impressive. They built magnificent cities and temples and houses. They are farmers. They use those chinampas, which are those island gardens. So they're farmers. They worship nature with their sun gods here, and then they worship war. They are defeated. They are not. They do not abandon their cities. They are defeated by Cortez. So some similarities are they're both farmers. They're both intelligent in the fact that they built really impressive cities and housing and temples, and that's impressive. So that takes intelligence. But we see that the Aztecs are more fighters and they're warriors, where the Mayans are going to be more of your intellectual Indian tribe. So that's some of the differences there. Let's jump over to Mexican Revolution and Mexican independence. So let's start with independence. Cause, a desire from independence from Spain. And then a result is they gain that independence from Spain and they become their own country in 1822. So that would be your impact, your result here, is that they gain that independence. And then we've got revolution down here. Remember, their revolution is not their independence. We get that confused because in American history, we fought an American Revolution, which gave us our independence. But in Mexico, they fight the Mexican War for independence. And then in 1910, they fight a revolution. The revolution is caused because of that large gap between the rich and the poor is growing really, really wide. Remember that 1% of the Mexican population owned 90% of the land at the time. And the people that are working that land don't own it. And they are paid really, really small wages. They're very poor for this land that they're working that's not theirs. And so they fight a revolution. And the impact is this right here, the Constitution of 1917. This Constitution is going to give that land back to the Mexican people. It redistributes it through those ejido systems, and the people actually get their land back. And so they are the actual winners of their revolution. And that's really what's special about the Mexican Revolution, is that the people themselves are the winners. And this is the one of your questions is, what is the importance of the Constitution of 1917? It grants land back to the Mexican people, and they get that land back that they were fighting for. Your culture is not on there. Your shadow boxes were your testing of the culture. Remember your timeline and remember your map. All right, y'all are going to do great.